everyone. My name is Urosh. I am a technical writer here at Hentsu. I specialize in content creation and content strategy. And as of late, I've been jumping into the sort of public cloud space, specifically creating sort of ways to impact with topics related to the public cloud and what that generally means for modern day business. Today, I'm talking to cloud expert and CTO of Hentsu, Des Holmes. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Okay, let's kick this off. So we're talking about refactoring legacy applications. So in your experience, can you tell us a bit about the basics and what that means for today's sort of technology scene and businesses in general?
Sure. Yeah, so I think when obviously we talk about migration and sort of refactoring applications quite a lot, and that's a lot of what clients come to us for. I think the three main types of migration that we sort of look at is sort of a lift and shift. So that is taking an existing application, moving it as is, and just putting it straight into public cloud. Then we look at sort of minor refactoring. So if they've got a modern application, we just adapt that to use cloud native services. And then on the other end of the scale, we've got sort of large rewrites or total rewrites of very old applications that aren't really suitable or have a sort of an end of life for wherever they're currently hosted. So they're the three types of migration. In terms of the basics of refactoring, you probably need to take a few things into consideration, one of which is just evaluating the value to the business of refactoring the application. So just because you want to move or migrate an application from private cloud or on-prem into public cloud doesn't necessarily mean that you might need to refactor it. So you need to consider, how long are you going to be using the application for? When is its end of life? And also understand the amount of effort that might go into refactoring the application. So if it is something that's going to be around for a long time, and it does add a lot of value to business, then it's definitely worth considering. However, if it's a legacy application that you're looking to phase out in the next few months or year or so, then refactoring that to be compatible with cloud native services probably isn't a good investment of time or effort. Other things to consider in terms of the basics as well is if you've got a large application, are there elements of the application that can have their components easily separated into external services? So this is sort of a hybrid approach where you keep elements of the existing app as is, and then you just move out parts of the app to use cloud native services where that can make sense. And then the last thing to mention is just, if you can iteratively refactor an application, definitely do that over sort of doing a big bang, just so you can start understanding how the application behaves in cloud, but also you can start getting the benefits from that refactoring rather than waiting months and months before you release it.
I see. So from your perspective, I guess this is, I guess you could say that this is something that's here to stay, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And like I said, the scale of it is, it could be small applications that get moved, or it could be big enterprise applications that are core to the business that need to be migrated and refactored as well. So I think, and again, we talked about it briefly before, but refactoring is a natural part of any development life cycle. It's just how and when you should do it.
Right. And basically businesses and companies knowing where they're at and having a general view on what they should do.
Absolutely.
Specifically. Yeah. I see. I understand that. So sort of let's just dig into it a little bit by talking about these sort of enterprise level facets of refactoring that I guess and the chief benefits of this.
Yeah, so on the enterprise level, I think the development investment from the public cloud providers, they're spending billions, mainly to make your life easier and cheaper. So I'd consider that as one of the big benefits for the process. Another thing is to consider sort of reducing your overheads and focusing on your core business as well. So if you've got a legacy app or elements of your business at an enterprise scale that is causing you headaches and you're constantly having to look after it and monitor it, then why don't you just offset that and use cloud native services instead, so you can actually focus on your core business. And again, if development or DevOps isn't a core part of your business or core enough part of your business, then just look to offset that. Leverage cloud services. So if you don't want to be running endless patching cycles or worrying about the infrastructure itself, make it somebody else's problem. And in this case, it's the public cloud providers.
Yeah, I think that sort of neatly ties into the topic. The question of whether you think public cloud is sort of what are the biggest benefits versus the private environment.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's the three main things are sort of the scale, OPEX versus CAPEX, but also considering the amount of access to the tools and services that you've got. So we help clients sort of scale up and down using public cloud. So it's not always about I need to infinitely scale, which is obviously what public cloud offers, but also if they're looking to reduce their CAPEX, they can move to public cloud and dial the services down, or ideally turn them off if they're not being used. Whereas that just isn't possible with your private cloud model, where you're paying for the resources, and when they're on, that's it. They're on the bill.
And you're sort of stuck with that.
Yeah, you're totally stuck with that, which is annoying because if I was going out shopping for my food and I didn't want something 1 week, I just wouldn't put it in my shopping cart. Whereas if I had to pay for the same food every week, regardless of whether I was going to use it or not, I'd be really annoyed with that. So
yeah, of course, it makes complete sense. And so you're sort of free from that long-term obligation that you're sort of locked in.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean the scales and the tools as well. I think it is great the amount of tools and services that the public cloud providers are developing. But I mean, on the other side as well, there's quite a lot of fatigue as well, because it takes a lot of time and effort to keep up to date with all the new tools and services, and just to make sure you're utilizing the right ones.
Right. So let me just jump on ahead real quick. So in terms of, can you talk a bit more about serverless application refactoring?
Yeah, sure. So when we refer to serverless, we're just talking about not going with the traditional route of having a virtual machine or a server where something is hosted or is deployed to. So and this notion we really like, especially Hentsu, because you use it a lot internally as well. It's not just on behalf of our clients, but you have some great tooling available, things like Lambda, Batch, Azure App Service, ECS. All these things are available. And able to deploy your applications too, but also turn them on and off as well. So the good thing about serverless is, I'm not maintaining a server. I don't have the patching cycles and the headache with that. But also, I don't necessarily need long-running instances. So things with like Lambda and Azure and AWS batches, you only pay for them as long as you need them. So rather than having to pay for a server, which could be, $300 or $500 a month, you're going down to cents in terms of running the processes themselves.
Yes, and lately this has been a hot topic for us as well, and generally in the market that sort of this kind of serverless ambience and grid computing, ephemeral computing is really taking sort of the center stage, right? From your experience.
Yeah, totally. No, it's big, and I think you've got with these services as well, you can't just throw anything at them. You need to have idempotent processors, as well as these nicely ephemeral services that you can just turn on and off, and and in some cases inject failure into on purpose just to make sure things are behaving as expected. So, but yeah, it's definitely the way forward. I think you'd have to question why you need a virtual machine turning on now.
Right. That's totally put things into perspective, and I think the really big thing lately that I personally noticed from a lot of tech companies and those who want to go like sort of cloud-based and going for cloud adoption and stuff, that this sort of auto-scaling and just automation is a really big thing. People want to sort of. And I think that the cloud in this current state and is a cool environment for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, that's we're sort of broadening the topic here. That could be, we can mention that in another discussion, I guess. I don't want to take too much time. Anything else you'd like to add while we're talking about legacy application?
Yeah, I think, I mean, one point just to mention quickly is just sort of how, tech and the application landscape sort of changing. I think the good news now is people, if they're going to start developing applications, won't have the same problems in future when it comes to refactoring, because they're going to be using things like, Docker, and they're going to be breaking out APIs from the UI. So they won't have the same problems that they're encountering now. I think the tech's got to a mature state, and there are established patterns, which means that, you won't potentially have the same expensive refactoring or, large scale refactoring that's required at the minute. There's a lot of legacy applications written on old tech that unfortunately just, aren't suitable. So it's just something to consider. There's some really solid tech out there that you can use to help future-proof yourself more than was possible before.
Yeah. So what you're saying, it's already evolved in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really cool. So thanks a lot for your time, Des, and hope to talk to you soon.